Warning: the following video may have language that some viewers may find offensive, and others are already offended. Viewer discretion is advised, but not really. No animals were hurt in the making of this 4-hour feature film.
Great.
I think we're gonna have some fun. Lots of
Let's
rain
do
out
it.
there today. So what else? What else can we do, right?
Yeah.
Other than who wants to go out and get wet?
No, I'm not walking the dogs. No.
Hey everybody! Thanks for joining us here today on the Full Monty. We got quite a guest in here. He's an old friend from quite a few years now.
Oh, geez, we were both 12. No.
Yeah, 12. I was going to say 9.
Okay.
So,
Well, you might have been 9 and I was 12. So yeah.
I think we're pretty close to
Yeah.
age. Not too far apart. So, it's been a little while trying to get the mayor of St. Thomas to take the seat today on the show.
Oh, come on! I had to beg and beg. It was,
Actually,
no.
you did say to me that. Yeah, why?
Wait, why am I being
here?
left out? Yeah. No.
Yeah, where's the mayor? The mayor hasn't been on here, so we're gonna put Joe through the grill today, and
All right.
we're gonna have some fun. We're not gonna really touch on any city business, things like that, but we're just gonna talk about who is Joe.
Right.
Who
Great.
Are you? Who are you, Joe? Who are you?
Oh, look, I sometimes wonder the same thing.
I do too. Trust me, I do too. So, Joe, let's get into it. So, first of all, thanks for coming.
Great.
I
Happy
so
to be here.
appreciate you coming and sitting down with me and have some fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get in a little bit here. So, where were you born?
I was born in Chatham, Ontario.
Oh, Chatham.
I lived there, I think, till I was 2 years old, and our family moved to London. I have there are 6 kids in our family, 4 boys, 2 girls. I was the 4th of the kids. I have a sister that is about 2.5 years or 3 years older than me, and twin brothers that are 18 months older than me.
Wow.
And then me. I say that because of that, and it was 6 years before we had the next 2 brothers, the next 2 siblings, my brother and younger brother and sister. I say the fact that I had twin brothers 18 months older than me taught me to be a very quick talker and also very fast.
I guess considering as your life went on,
Right.
that probably came into very good use for you.
It did. I tell the story. I started off as a young kid with a lisp, and I was afraid to talk. I didn't.
Okay.
Right. And at a fairly middle of grade 6, grade 7, it's teachers and stuff started to notice it, and I asked for a tape recorder one year because I was seeing a speech therapist right through the school, and they said, well, you need to practice. It really slurred my S's,
Okay.
but it made me very shy. It made me not really want to. But that got me talking to myself and talking to correct how I was speaking. But then you also start, as you do, you start to talk about things, right?
Yeah.
So it made me more of a scholar, made me look at things so that I could have something to talk about. And I then, because I corrected my speech, I became more interested in things like acting or always the public speaking pieces in school and stuff. So I really I went from very shy to losing my shyness and doing things like acting, and so it made me in my later life, of course, far more out front.
Wow.
I have often said that the greatest thing you could be to become a politician later in life is to be the class clown.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because you learn to be very quick-witted and to make people laugh, and they usually like that. But had my own chair outside the vice principal's office in high school.
I've been down there a few times in
Yeah.
my day. Yep, absolutely. Well, that is something that I know. As I grew up, I was a very shy kid. I had my little circle of friends. I grew up in Mitchell, and we used to play out on the street and do all our road hockey and things like that. never liked to go to where there was new people, never wanted it. It wasn't actually until even growing up through my teens, still just I stayed with my own little group.
Right.
Till I actually started volunteering. Once I got involved with the Legion way back then, I mean, it's 35 years now I've been doing that. That kind of brought me out to where, and then growing up with a lot of the veterans and the senior people, and that's kind of how I guess coming out of the shell, I guess you could say. But now there's, I don't know, so many times my mouth has got me in more trouble than I probably should be. But
there are times you say afterwards, I probably shouldn't have said that.
That's happened
well,
a few times.
I went into, of course, the restaurant business, right?
Yes,
and
did.
so you learn to put on that customer service persona. How are you today? I mean, people want to be recognized. People want to have those types of conversations, especially when they're in your business. And so it became more about teaching people to do that level of customer service. Well, that stayed with me through the rest of my life. And we've had a lot of fun.
That is cool. Now, I see, I was doing a little research on you. Amazing what you can Google and what information is on people. I mean, I even Googled my name one time. I don't want to look at that. Attended University of Western Ontario, where you earned a Bachelor of Arts degree, it said in political science.
I did not.
No, you did not.
No.
That's what I mean.
No, I know.
This is what's in there, right?
Well, and I've corrected Wikipedia and stuff over time about things that's really accurate or not.
Like, this is why I want to read it too, because I want to find out, like, is it true or not?
Is this the other Joe Preston that played bass in what band? And, right.
But it's like, how do these people or these organizations come up with certain things that portray somebody that aren't true?
Right.
Like, and people, man, if it's on the web, it's true.
Well, it must be.
Like, it has to be, right? It says you went on to earn a Master of Arts degree in political science from the University of Toronto.
Nope.
So then I was going to say, so what does a political science degree entail? But I've never heard of it.
I'll tell you. I earned one in the Parliament of Canada. Basically, that's where I learned my political.
That was a school of hard knocks.
Well, it was good that way. Yeah. But I grew up with parents who caused us to have conversations at dinner. And I wish more of that still continued. But every night we and I was the youngest of that first four. And we're asked what happened today in school, what happened today in the world. Who knows what else? Dad or mom were both very good volunteers in our community, in communities too. But they made us pay attention to the world. Right.
Okay.
Right. So if Dad sat down to watch the news, we did too. Right. But and I find that really, I am a fountain of useless facts. I'm just so good at Jeopardy or a trivia contest because I remember a lot of what's happened in the past. And I try to put humor into most things like that too. I've still been doing some stand-up comedy. I did a thing last Friday night.
Yeah, you were just down there for comedy night, Friday night.
Yeah.
Last Friday, I believe.
Yeah, and it's been about 4 years since I've done that. And people go, do you really? And I say, I've got some great stories to tell. And I'm more of a storyteller than a joke teller.
Okay.
Right? But I told stories about Parliament and about... That's cool. And I had done some stand-up comedy for Stand Up for Mental Health, about breaking the stigma of mental health. I'd been asked to do that. And of course, with Stephanie's bipolar, my wife is bipolar, and so we deal with. She does peer support for mental health, and I went off and did comedy for mental health, and so again, it's different than what you do for a living, but it's connected. The whole community. Boy, does it help the mayor to know about mental health.
Humor is very powerful.
Oh, is it ever?
To make someone laugh, just to bring joy, can heal so much stuff.
Well, and people listen to comedy. People listen to jokes. People listen well to stories. And so if you're trying to get a point across, if you get their attention by a little bit of a listening exercise, by telling a story or a joke in the beginning, it really does help people pay attention. Right? In Parliament, set aside once as the chairman of Procedure and House Affairs that I thought we should quit reading. In Parliament, everybody gets up with a piece of paper in their hand and reads their material. Mm-hmm. And I made friends with 4 or 5 people in Parliament who are just great any topic, jump up on their feet and talk about it. Well, then everybody stops and they listen. But the guy who's reading a speech that was just handed to him from the Prime Minister's office as he walked in the room, it isn't showing the same passion. So I really tried to say the same thing, but I thought our Parliament, all of our levels of government would do way better if we just talked rather than read. Yeah. And we found this really works well at the city level. We don't do written speeches. We talk about pieces of
reading off of, like I have my questions here, script, but reading from it's plain. It's just there's really no emotion behind it. Yeah. And especially if you don't write it, somebody else does for you. No, I'm with you. And so even if you have, and for the longest time, I wrote every speech I was ever going to give, and by the time I gave it, no longer had it on paper. I had practiced it in the car, or practiced it in the shower. My two favorite places to practice speeches or comedy. Okay. Right? Well, you're there alone. Yeah. Excuse me, are you talking to someone in there? Yes, I was. I was giving a speech that the whole world needs to hear. I got soap in my eyes. Yeah. All right. So let's ask Joe, where was your first job? What was it?
Yes, besides the delivering of newspapers with older brothers, my first real job, I delivered groceries for Lum's Superior Store in London on Blackfriars Street for $1 an hour. And I worked 2 hours after school every night for whatever the orders came into the store to be groceries to be delivered to people's houses. So I had used my bike and all day Saturday. And that was my first job. And it may have been a connection to customer service and that it was a friend of mine also did the same job, so we worked together a lot. And it was, I think I did that for 3 or 4 years probably. I probably started at 12 years old or 11 years old and worked through to 15. So, yeah,
that's cool. I've never heard that first job scenario. Right. Like there was the paper room. Of course, I delivered papers too. Cutting grass. I remember on my bike with a gas can and pulling the lawnmower behind me, and I used to go around and cut grass back in Mitchell. But now you've been a business owner. We're going to get to Big Joe now for a long time, quite a few years.
Well, 45 years with Wendy.
Is it really?
So 33 I've owned the Wendy's here in town.
Wow.
Before that, I had started in the pizza business. I managed Little Caesars at age 16. Little Caesars at the time, I think the store I ran in North London was store number 56. So this is a fairly fledgling chain at the time. Mike and Marion Ilwich were the owners of Little Caesars, and we all knew them because it wasn't a big company. Right. And then I managed one in Waterloo for a period of time because they didn't have anybody. Said, Joe, would you go? I said, sure. All right.
Wow. So what made you, as you're growing up, what turned you to the restaurant business?
Well, that was the first of it, was that at 16 years old going to work for Little Caesars while I was in high school. And of course, it was also somewhat of the demise because you were open late. It was the one I ran was right at the University gates in London on Richmond North. And so we were open till 4 in the morning, I think.
That would have been a busy one too.
Oh yeah, well at the time it was incredible. But But it also, you work till 4 in the morning. And so sometimes it was a little hard to get up for high school the next day.
Oh, yeah, right? Yes, yeah.
So I ended up, leaving high school early at that time because I'd missed too many days by doing this. But I just loved the restaurant business, the camaraderie of the people that worked there together and the service, the meeting of customers. And so I think I knew pretty well. I think somebody asked a question once in one of my high school classes, what do you think you'll do? And I said, I think I'll do what I'm doing right now. I rather love the restaurant business. I expect to see a life in it. And the whole room laughed, and they thought I was funny anyway, so it worked. But it really did turn into that, Tony. And then another couple of pizza companies after that. And then when I was my first marriage, age 20, we bought a pizza place in Strathroy. That when we were first married, we kept that for about 1.5 years, and I went back. Strathroy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then worked through that. It was a company called the Pizza Factory at the time, and then they were expanding, and the Bruce nuclear plant was being built, and a new owner had bought the Port Elgin and Kincardine pizza pizza factories and said, Joe, would you come work for me? I'm going to pay you really well because it's just a boom town right now up when they were building the Bruce nuclear plant. So yeah, we moved up there for the summer, lived in a hotel room all summer.
Oh, wow.
And I never made it to the beach. That's how busy a business it was.
Wow.
I mean, in 2 beach communities, it was incredible. But it got to be fall and it slowed down, and we said to each other, my first wife and I said, what should we do? And I said, I think we should go back to London. Let's go back to home and see what we'll do. So we went home. I applied to a number of restaurants. Wendy's was the first one to respond. This was in 1978. I went to work for Wendy's at a time they had just opened their first store in London, and grew that company to where it is today, including being a franchise owner the last 34 years.
I'm going to throw this in here. So since that day, you have just never cut corners.
No, absolutely not.
I'm going to beat you to
one.
that.
Yeah.
You did that to me one
Sure,
time.
use my good line. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, being a local business owner,
right.
then, we've done a lot of working together on fundraisers and stuff, and I've approached you in the past with stuff that you were like right there. Let's do it. But as a person, how important is it as a business owner to give back to your community?
Well, I think it's something I teach all business owners and somewhat shame those that don't. I mean, and I don't mind doing it. Look at it. I think Mom used to say it, but we, as I shared, my mother and father were both good volunteers. I mean, we didn't know any better. We knew, Dad wasn't there Tuesday nights because he was a scout leader, or Mom wasn't there because she was doing something else. And so we learned volunteering because, as Mom used to say, that's the rent you pay for living someplace, is volunteering.
Yeah.
So when I came to St. Thomas from London, back from Toronto, but from living in London, to buy this Wendy's, to open this it was open before. I had done that corporately. Mm-hmm. I said, it's great about customer service, but you better be involved in your community. People better know Joe as the face of Wendy's rather than just it's another place in town. So we started to be involved. First thing I did was join the Youth Employment Counseling Center, because we hire a lot of youth in our business, so I thought that would work, which led me to the United Way, which led me to the Downtown Development Board, which led me to the Chamber of Commerce and Second Stage Housing and a number of other volunteer opportunities in our community. And we continue to do it, whether it's myself or Marcy. We at Wendy's,
Marcy's awesome.
Oh, well, she is, there's a great story there too, Tony. She started with me when she was 14 in high school and was a great employee. And then when she went off to hotel and restaurant management at college, she came back and became one of our managers and started managing the place. And when I was asked would I run federally, 2004, my wife of the day and I discussed what will we do, right? And I said, I think that there's 2 choices. We sell the business. By then we had sold off our other Wendy's except for St. Thomas. It was where we lived and what we liked. And it was a pretty busy store. It was starting to be a pretty busy store. It wasn't that in the beginning. But she said, well, what's the other choice besides selling the business? Because what if you lose? I said, well, thank you for the support. But I said, why don't we give Marcy 10% of the business and let her run it like it's hers while I'm away? I'm home every weekend from Ottawa. I'm only a phone call away for anything through the week. And she has just taken over as the managing partner in a great business. She now owns almost half of it. And as we were about to build some more. So she's got...
Now, back in that day, you were across... where Wimpy's is now,
That's right.
isn't it?
Wimpy's was. I have trouble visiting Wimpy's. I spent like 25 years in that building, and I go there for breakfast, and I have a lot of good memories and bad memories that come back. But it's.
I was trying to think back to when I first came to this area. I was delivering fuel at that time. It was I think Granger Fuels in London.
Right.
And I remember it might be when they were building the McDonald's at that time. or was it around?
Well, McDonald's was before us.
Okay, so there must have been something going on at your old store because they had all the fencing around. I remember trying to get my truck in around the fencing back then. I went to the Walmart area. I remember driving my truck through the building when it was all gravel inside and delivering diesel fuel in there. And, and then unfortunately, I never got to see the golf course that used to be there.
Talbot Park. I still have the Talbot Park badge on my golf clubs.
Yeah.
I'm not a good golfer, but I remember that because it was a place I could go play. I could work Wendy's for lunch, go play 9 holes in the afternoon, and go back and work dinner. Right, and
awesome.
So I did love it. And there's no coincidence that the current Wendy's sits on where the 9th green used to be at Talbot Park.
Is that where the 9th was?
Yep.
It's just sad that in life we don't know what we lost until it's gone.
Well, but I've got a little bit different view. You're right. I loved it. It was a great, unique thing. But much like with my business, if someone comes to me and offers me what I think is a fantastic price for my business, I'm likely to say yes.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
Somebody came to the owner of that golf course and offered them a retirement level of money to build the super center on it.
I get it.
I can't tell them no.
Yeah,
right?
no, I get it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. It's sometimes when you have that gem, you don't know really it is a gem.
No.
Until you see now,
Yeah, but it was a golf course
put up a parking lot
right next to an industrial complex called Timken.
I know, yeah.
I mean, it was a great little piece in itself, but
the other one that I enjoyed was seeing the pictures at the Queso station of the park that used to be. That looked like back in that day. That must have been a beautiful piece of property.
Well, it was, and there was a lot of city activity in front of it. But again, that park was built by the railway company, not by the city.
Yeah, no, it wasn't city.
But yes, should we encourage people to do way more of that? Absolutely right.
Yeah. It would be nice to see instead of just property sitting there derelict, not doing anything, whatever.
Well, we've got a few spots in town we'd love to see developed better, which is why we're now looking forward to the railway lands being looking as to what can come next. I was at a group last Saturday morning of 10 different design groups from Fanshawe that all brought ideas of what could be. Okay. It's incredible. I love it when people are blue sky. Here it is. We know we've got what used to be old railway land, contaminated land, can't build on it, can't play on it. The Railway Museum that we want to save, it's an incredible piece.
It is.
We want parkland in there, right? The railway station is kind of isolated by itself, the Queso station. We want to get it activity again in the back. And we want to make as much parkland and housing as we can out of the land. Cool. So in talking to Doug Terry, who's working very hard on this and help sponsor these people on Saturday with their design competition, both landscape and building, and it was great to see. Now, can we do any one of them? No, but we can incorporate something from all of them. And we want to attract the other landowners on every side of that to come join in. Let's look at a secondary plan for the city of St. Thomas and do our best on the most appropriate piece of property in town.
So as you're touching on a bit about the political side and what we have going on in St. Thomas, but as a kid growing up, what made you get into politics?
Well, I never thought of. I think I shared that Mom and Dad used to make us discuss current events, and that was a great thing because it put a lot of knowledge in my head and let me understand what was happening around us. So I followed politics, but I wasn't engaged in it in any way, and I became a very good volunteer in our community and started to gain some notoriety. People knew who Joe Preston was as the owner of the Wendy's and as the chair of the Chamber of Commerce and a number of other things. And one day, a great gentleman who was a great friend and mentor, and Ken Monty, came up to me and said, "You know what, Joe? We got another election coming up. You think you could run?" I said, "Ken, take a look at me."
Not that kind of
I said, I could walk fast, but I'm not sure I could run. "What are you talking about?" He said, "No, we're looking for a candidate for, in those days, what was the Progressive Conservative Federal Party." And I went home and talked to my wife that night and said, "Should I run?" She said, "Well, that's really unique. You think of all the things you're doing in St. Thomas and Elgin County. Could you do more if you were the member of Parliament?" And I said, yeah, I'm sure that would be a good thing to think about. And so we thought about it for almost a year. It was a while to go. And I knew the member of parliament of the day because of working on a number of projects in St. Thomas. And I wasn't super pleased with the job that he was doing, but to each their own. So I did. I ran.
Wow.
2004, first election, and I won.
Wow.
And so I
And you
wasn't
won
into
right off the gate.
politics, right?
Yeah, and you won. Wow.
I remember saying, okay, I won. Now what the heck do I do? I've got to go to Ottawa. What does this mean? And so I started talking to other people who were former members of parliament, John Wise and Ken Monty, and said, okay, well, thank you. Y'all got me into this. So now what do I do?
So how did you find it being a first, you were a newbie?
Right.
When you got into the other area politician,
right.
They helped you, they guide you.
Yeah,
Was everybody very friendly?
And I found not as well as you might think. And we were in opposition for my first 18 months. It was we had another election pretty quick after my first one because it was a minority government, the Paul Martin government.
Yep.
Right. And it was brought down on confidence. And so we went back to the polls just 18 months later in 2006. And I said then, I want to help more with the orientation of new members of parliament. Now, we elected a lot more. Our party elected a lot more in that next election. And in every election following that, I did large orientation projects for new members of parliament. And it wasn't, it wasn't about partisanship. It wasn't about they're bad, you're good. It was about here's where the washrooms are. Here's where you get this done. Here's what, how a committee works. And so over the time, my next 3 elections, I did a lot of those orientation sessions. And in one of the last ones, there was a large number of MDP from Quebec elected. Well, I became Uncle Joe.
Oh, did you really?
Right? Well, because
Okay.
they do.
Yeah.
I said, please, don't hesitate. You're all here and it's all new. Call me. Come to my office. Come. If you got a question, and so it became constant where even in the middle of, while we're doing some debate, you can cross the floor and go talk to a friend on the other side, and someone would come over and said, Joe, this happened at committee. Is that correct? Is that how it's supposed to work? And so we came, a number of us, after I kind of started, became advisors to the other politicians. I think it made them, first of all, better politicians.
Yeah.
But it also made them think that just because you're on the other party or one of the other parties, you're not an ogre or an enemy, right?
Yeah.
I made more friends there than I made enemies, but that's my personality, and that's how that worked.
Yeah.
Right. But I think politics would be a far better place if we could revert back to that.
Oh, absolutely. And we bring it to today's world where, we talked about this a little bit. So without getting into too much of the detail, but Pierre Poilievre, you see how he's grown now and
well, I can tell you how much he's grown. He was my seatmate my first day in Parliament. 2004, I went there, and I'm 50 years old. Pierre went there at 24, right? Yeah. And I will say he knew his political stuff, but didn't. But he was younger than my son. He really has grown up doing this, and quite well, I might add. But it was quite a unique experience for the two of us. In those days, especially when you're newly elected, you sat by alphabetical and number of years. So if you were there 4 years, you would be closer to the front, and all the new people would be closer to the back, and then sitting from alphabetical.
Okay.
Right? So Preston and Polyev shared a bench. Right?
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Okay, right. Yeah. I have talked to him a couple of times, not verbally, just Facebook. We were actually able, before he really started to run, and I had a couple of conversations with him. And I didn't know that you had known him at the time, so I don't think we even talked about you. But you've seen how I enjoy watching him talk.
I think he's grown significantly in this role. He really is, and he's putting some common sense approach to what needs to be done different. I recognize when I left in 2015, we had just balanced the budget. We had done a bunch of great things, and another party had taken over then, after I had left. And he's now some 8 years later saying, look at what's happened in these 8 years. What can we do better and different? And Karen has done a magnificent job as our local member of parliament.
She's coming in soon.
Well, good.
I'm going to get her.
Well, we such good friends. But and so look, I love where he's headed. I love what he's trying to do, because we don't need more government in this country. We need smarter government, and he's doing some of the right things. So
no, that's
look,
great.
and I know who I'm going to support. So I don't try and hide the fact.
I for years was a member. Well, I wasn't a member, but I supported NDP.
Right.
I had friends back in Grand Bend when I was there that were in NDP, and they kind of got me onto that.
Yep.
Never actually joined a party. I'd never actually been a member of a party until I came here. And then for the last few years, I've been federal and provincial I've been PC.
Yeah.
I haven't. I just did.
Well, I think it makes sense here, and it's a good hotbed of the support.
I tell people, and I'm open with it. I don't get into political debates really about that. I don't care who you are associated with.
Right.
I've always said before, from the Legion side, just vote.
Right.
That's why we have our freedoms.
Right.
I don't care if you're liberal, if you're
look things up.
Doesn't matter.
Think them through. Do those types of things you need to do.
Yeah.
Be smart about why you're doing it, and do it. Do not vote.
I tell people, for me, and I don't always necessarily vote by party. I vote by that person in my area. If I think so, if I was NDP but you're running, and we have and you've been doing fantastic things, I want best for my community,
you should pick,
right?
Because it's the right thing for your area.
Yeah.
That is what a parliamentary democracy is. And I spent a great deal of time in the Commonwealth group while I was in Parliament, and chairing procedure and House Affairs in Parliament. And because of the shadow of the Americans to the south of us, many of us don't understand the parliamentary method of how we run our government. You vote for your local guy. You need to pick the best local person and elect them.
Is that who we were talking about? Right
That one there, I was at meetings with some
I'm
congressmen.
Going to put this up on the screen.
In Washington, right? Yes,
so
and
our little southern partners there,
yes,
our neighbors.
Well, and we shared a lot about what our differences were, but how similar we are. Many congressmen in the United States are exactly that. They're not party first, they're man first, woman first. And they get elected because of what they've done in their area and why they've done it. They're always a part of a party. And I always said the same thing here. You need to send smart people, good people from your area to Parliament. The party that sends the most gets to have the Prime Minister.
Okay.
Right? That's how it's, right? So oftentimes someone would say, Joe, I love what you're doing, but I don't like your leader. I said, well, that's damn good, because you'd have to live in Calgary or West to vote for Prime Minister Harper.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Here you're voting for me.
Yeah.
And if you send me to Ottawa, then I can help Prime Minister Harper do a better job, as will the number of other men and women that will send to Parliament. That's how it works in a Commonwealth or in a parliamentary decision. I liked it, because it is about you. Locally, it's the best person you can get to go represent you.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, so here's our other one. So you're new here.
That would have
Ottawa?
been day one, or pretty close to
Really?
day one as a member of Parliament. Yes, right. My hair hadn't gone completely gray yet, or I was still dyeing it. Yes.
All right, so I just want to get it in.
Yep.
So this is called the Full Monty, the Naked Truth Podcast.
Right.
I want to get one question in here.
Go ahead.
Just to say, so when we have so you're elected to this area and you go to Ottawa.
Yes.
Even for provincial. Say you become a minister or whichever.
Right.
So how does a local community like St. Thomas, if you were just elected as a federal MP,
right
now, but you're an actual minister or whatever, that benefits us, does it not?
Well, sure it does, because you're sitting at the cabinet table with all of the ministers in government. Does it take away from your ability to do local representation? Yeah, there'll be a number of church dinners. Or Rob, who's become an associate minister provincially. No, he's got to be in Sault Ste. Marie doing something for his ministry instead of being back in Elgin that weekend. So it hurts that side, but it really helps the fact that he has the ear of the premier and other ministers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't think the local mayor, who's a good friend of Rob's, doesn't say, hey, Rob, I need some help with you on healthcare. And that he'll go talk to Sylvia and Minister Jones and say, here's what St. Thomas is looking for. So yes, it's good and bad.
I see the connection though, as you mayor from your past.
Right.
That really helped us too, because so many different departments and people.
Some people don't understand when I say my Rolodex still works. Right? I say it, if I say it to millennials or high school kids, they go, what's a Rolodex?
What's a Rolodex?
And I said, okay, sorry, my contact list is still extensive.
Yeah.
Right? But you're right, of course it helps. And it only helps, Tony, if we've been good friends or not been stupid in the past. I mean, I feel comfortable calling people, and look, Prime Minister Trudeau came when we were talking about Volkswagen, and he and I wandered around town more than once. Yeah. Now, in the 4 years we served together in Parliament, we weren't good friends, but he was capable enough to know that I wasn't the enemy. I was a good guy who would talk and help, and right. Yeah. One of my best, you mentioned NDP, one of my best friends that I missed, Jack Layton. The leader of the NDP, well, Jack and I used to talk almost every day. Now, it's a funny story because we'd talk in the gym. Jack worked out. I talked.
Okay.
But he had a genuine interest, and we both went to Parliament for the same reasons, altruistic, make Canada a better place. Now, do we have different philosophies or principles about how that might work? Of course we do, but it didn't make him less of a good character. Yeah. And so he, almost every day, we talked a little bit about Elgin County or St. Thomas, and he was genuinely interested in what that was like. And I talked to him about Danforth, about downtown Toronto, because I was genuinely interested. And we became, it's tough sometimes to walk along with some of your own party members and tell them what a good friend Jack Layton is. And I bet he had the same thing in his party. What are you doing talking to that guy? Right? Because there is some of that. But no, I was about making friendships and finding out why other people went there to do it.
You know what? It was a big loss when Jack went.
Yeah.
Local guy here, John Lawler. We know John very well too. Yep. But I think John had a picture. He met Jack at Skydome, Toronto Blue Jays, and they took pictures together. And I thought, John, that's a great picture to hang on to. So
I shared, Tony, as I was leaving Parliament in 2015 with the Hill Times, the newspaper for Parliament, and they said, Joe, you're going, and you were a bit different. You made friends here, and I said, yes, I tried to make friends with all 338 men and women. I said, I think there's probably 4 people in this house I wouldn't have over for dinner, and two of them are conservatives, and they printed that.
Did they really?
Well, if the next day most of the guys in my party say, am I one of those? Am I that guy? No, I'm not telling you. No.
Oh, my goodness. Here's one that goes back a little bit for us.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember what was going on back then. I still didn't have any hair.
I did politically speaking on Rogers for a number of years. And it might have been, or I was a guest on somebody else's show.
It could be. I do remember taking the picture, but I was working studio camera, I think, at that time. Back then, we progressed up. Now we're here as mayor. Okay, so from federal politics now to municipal.
Right.
How do you like this?
Is
this like a lot
This is the
easier,
best there
or
is.
Is it just
no,
so
it's
much
not.
different?
Nothing's easier.
Yeah.
But it's the best there is. I went federally first, and almost all people in politics, do municipal politics and then work their way up to one of the other levels. Very few have done that first. But my time in Parliament was, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's the most special thing I got to do. However, work in Parliament moves so slowly because you don't want to mess up laws that big. So I say it's glacial. You know it's moving, you just can't see it.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Being the mayor, this morning when I woke up, there was probably 2 or 3 emails on my phone. I solved them right away. We got things done, and every day is kind of that way, right? Nice. And so it's a lot more impactful. You can change people's lives quicker in municipal politics, but boy, it's a team sport without uniforms. Whereas federally, you knew who the Conservatives were, you knew who the other parties were. We don't have parties at the municipal level. I've got a council that is just second to none. I have 8 fantastic councillors. And it got even better after the last election when we added Rose and Tara, right? But I have 2 former mayors on my council. I can't find another mayor that has former mayors, right? More than one. Some have one, but nobody's got 2. And they're both great friends of mine, right? In Steve Peters and Jeff Kohler. They just are and have been. The rest of the council, including Rose and Tara, are 2 new entries who are just fantastic, right? And I wasn't kidding the other night when I said to that Rose was the we have to call her Rose because the word Energizer Bunny was already taken.
Yeah, well, I've worked with Rose a lot.
So you know,
and,
right?
Yes.
But the other thing we've done, you've been in our community for a long time, and we've had a number of councils that, for whatever reason they chose to do it, didn't work well together. Right? It was hard to get things done because the other guy was wrong and you were right, or you were wrong and he was right, whatever it was. We haven't had one case of that in 5 years with this council. We're not to say we don't discuss, not to say we don't suggest other alternatives, but at the end of the day, when we vote on something for St. Thomas, it's done. It's unanimous. We walk away. We move on to the next great thing we can do for St. Thomas.
I never seen so much change in a council like we have now. I mean, I go back a long time ago with Rogers and doing council. You were in federal, and I used to go there. And at times, it used to get to a point, I won't lie, that we used to sit in that little control room in the back, you know, and we kept thinking, man, when the argument starts, instead of just showing, like, say you are the one that's presenting, I said, I'm glad I'm actually not running the camera because I would like to put it quick over to you if you were the one fighting back. I want to get your face.
No, I want the people at home to see what you think you're causing.
They didn't want that, right? So that was kind of funny. But from way back then, Cliff was mayor.
So this couldn't be better. The mayor and 8 councilors.
I was excited for this one.
This has really been 5 years of the best, my best time. Yeah. People say, how long you can do this, Joe? If it stays like this forever, this is my retirement. I love this.
I was on Rose's campaign for a while, and I actually came to you and I think Jeff Kohler, because Jeff was in and we did a podcast. But I said to both of you, I said, if Rose didn't win this one, and I already told Rose because she was my first guest. I told her I went to you and Jeff and said, if you did not win this one, you got to get an award for the most determined.
Oh no.
You know,
wow, and now she's proven
we got it.
But now,
we
as I said,
hard,
she's very busy and dedicated to this job.
Dedicated.
She wanted it bad, and she's doing it great.
You know what, honestly, and Tara's the same because we've gone camping at Springwater. There's been a group for many, many years. We call it Turkey Camp. Right. Tara's been a part of that, but huge hearts. Like their hearts are in the community, right? Look. And that's what makes it.
Well, they all came the same way as the good ones did. They were big parts of the community, and being on council is an addition to it. Yeah. Not a reward for it, but an additional way to get things done for the people you serve.
You know, for 2 elections, I was going to run. Right. I had the first one, I think it was when Mark Cousins was going to try and run for mayor. And anyway, I had everything ready to go. I was going to run. I backed out and I started doing some videos for Mark. I was doing stuff for Jeff, and I put my attention over that side. I was doing some stuff with McKegg, and that was all about the new police station at that time, and yada yada. Second round came, and then it was like, no, I backed Rose again, and I thought I'm just not ready yet. I would like to eventually.
Well, I hope we all helped Rose. It appears it worked. We all helped Rose in the right way in this last election.
She is happy.
Filled the 2 spots on council that were available, and the rest. And we can't find this for anywhere around us, Tony, where all of the people who were on council that ran were reelected. Yeah. That's a good. I take that as a vote of confidence, and so we because we're getting it done right. Keep doing it.
And it don't matter what you do, you're not pleasing everybody.
Oh, so I learned that years ago.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And I asked Rose,
I was a married man, so I do understand that.
Yeah, right. That's right. But Okay, so when we go back, here's a picture from a long time ago with Cliff.
Yep.
You, Cliff, and Terry. That
Yep.
was from the Red Cross area.
Yep.
That was, do you remember this? This
Well-
was, I organized a fundraiser back then.
Yes.
I approached you. We went to
Yep.
Marcy. This was for, and actually, this
was
worked out
an
pretty
earthquake.
cool.
Was it the Haiti
The
earthquake?
Haiti,
Yes.
the Haiti relief.
Yep.
The government came back, the federal government at the time, and said if we were to do a fundraiser, they were going to match.
They will match whatever we
dollars.
can raise locally.
We did, I think, 3 hours. I first came
Yep.
to you, it went to Marcy, and it was
Right.
like, yeah, let's.
Yep.
So I organized, so we did this. I got police, fire, ambulance. I had
All the
Steve
local
Peters was there.
politicians.
Yeah, everybody came. I have photographs of the chief at that time
Yep.
at the drive-through window.
Yep.
I have
Oh,
officers there.
there were stories of that night of the police chief working the drive-through.
Oh, people, yeah, because people were coming up.
Well, he finally came up to you and me and said, "Can I work maybe in the dining room for a little while?" We said, "Sure, chief. Why?" He goes, "I could arrest every car going through." So we let him off the hook.
The drive-through windows you see a lot, right? But yeah, it was. I wandered around. We had actually, I have. Let's put up on the screen here the other one. So we had Rogers there. There's Mike.
Mike
When
working.
he had no gray hairs or nothing.
No.
and
He was
he's
only
at the
12
counter.
at the time. No.
Yeah, I think you're right. Look at that, baby
But
Michael.
we're teaching him how to pour drinks on the front line.
I got a picture of Cliff at the soda machine
Yep.
too. That they were trying
Yep.
to teach him
Yep.
that. We did about 3 hours, I think,
Yep.
roughly. We raised 2,000, and then what really got me was you donated 1,000.
Yeah.
My memory is right, was 1,000 because
Well, we knew that we're going to force the federal government to match it, right? So,
yeah, that's right. So in 3 hours, basically, it was $6,000.
Yeah.
Not long after that, I get a phone call from Karen Vecchio, who was your office manager.
Sure.
What
Well,
was
she was
Karen's
my
role at that
assistant.
time?
Yes,
Your assistant,
yeah.
your PA.
Yeah.
And I've never had a PA.
No.
I have a mini me.
Well, no. Look,
Hey,
of
look at
course
him.
you
Look
can.
at
Yeah,
him. Hey.
you can ask questions and get answers now. There's somebody who'll give you
I got a
advice.
mini me.
Right,
So
yeah.
Karen calls me up. She says, "Tony, I got something for you. Kind of cool. Can you come down to Joe's office?" So you weren't there. I come down and I meet with Karen and find out I got a citizenship award for this Haitian
right.
relief thing. And I was like, wow, like I was blown away. But I mean, it was everything I've done. It's been so easy to do because of the community where we are.
It's about serving
It's
your
not-
community, about doing things that you think need to get done.
It's just,
Your
can't-
time at the Legion and what the work you
Yeah.
did there is you're helping people along.
I've had,
But you're right. It's fun
you know,
to be recognized.
I'm coming up tomorrow night.
Yes.
2024 Impact Awards.
That's
I'm
right.
nominated for Extinguishers for Cindy Campaign.
Yes.
I said from the start, and when we with Paul at the chamber, and I said, I'm honored.
Yeah.
I'm really flat.
Well, and you
flattered.
should be.
I was going to say flattened.
Yeah, well,
I'm
that
flattered.
too. Flattered.
I'm flattered. Yeah, but I don't.
Well,
definitely,
you're
I
in
did
with-
none of this for.
Well, you're
any
in with other
recognition.
people who also have done great work in our community.
Fantastic
24 awards.
It's a heavy.
There's a lot
big one,
of
this
great
one.
people being recognized,
Yeah.
and so now it's become a thrill to be recognized,
Yeah.
and an additional gratitude to be the one that perseveres. But everybody who is recognized.
I love the recognition of it, and as a nominee, I still have nothing. I really have no feeling towards this because I don't think it's me.
No.
It was the fire department. It was our police. It was the people, our business
It's
community.
the team you built to do the good work, and
was
if you
amazing.
hadn't started it, it might not have got there, and that's why we say yes.
I mean, yes.
But okay, but beyond that, it is also just nice in here. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit my microphone.
No, that's all right.
It's nice in here to add something new to your community that wasn't being done, that needed to be done, and how many more people now think of Cindy and that program you did?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, if nothing else, bringing the awareness forward.
I really wanted to take it from a twist a little bit of the extinguisher side because the whole story was the result of an impaired driver.
Right.
And I just said, I just so want that law to change.
Right.
Like we need to get.
We've got to get tougher.
Got to get
still.
tougher on this stuff.
And we're seeing, we even saw again this year, a little bit of an increase in the number of impaired drivers being caught.
Now, I ask though,
right?
Is there really an increase, or is it just because we're catching more?
Well, I think we're catching more. I'm not sure there's an increase.
They may still be
No,
out
we're
there,
getting
but
better at catching them. And it's more important that we do.
Yeah.
Right? The safety of our families on the road is important. And so the police are doing a better, and there's way less sympathy than there used to be towards drinking and driving.
Yeah,
and so, it's enforced. And also, I think because of the way social media plays and everything now, we hear about them more now too.
Yeah, we do.
Right?
Oh.
But then why hasn't it stopped? Right? We just need to do more to make it stop.
I know.
And part of what you did and are doing is about that too.
Yeah. My life, my whole career was driving truck.
Yeah.
Until I got medical condition, and then I wound up on insulin. I'm an insulin diabetic. I lost my transportation of dangerous goods, which then I gave up truck driving. Impaired was something always near to my heart because of that reason, right?
You're out there
I lived on the road.
You can look at 10 cars and not know which one might be.
Absolutely, you don't. And what scared me the most, really what got me thinking when this all started, was talking to Bill Todd at the time. He was our chief fire prevention officer. And Bill said, Tony, he said, this happens way more than we even know. Yeah. And I thought, BS. This is,
let's do something.
Total bullshit. To have someone, can you just imagine you getting the phone call, that your love, that happened.
No, I cannot. And I pray for the day it doesn't ever happen. Yeah. To anybody.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, and there was times that sometimes to make the impact, you've got to get graphic, and you've got to get it out there.
You've got to tell the story in a true and tough way. And that's not wrong. That's making it so that somebody stops and thinks.
They did in England for many, many years. When there was a serious accident, the car used to sit in the side of the road for quite a while. Yeah. And that was how many times when you'd pass a car that was completely destroyed.
Well, and we used to do that at the high schools here all the time. It's at least once a year, and during many of the campaigns, come and put a really wrecked car at the side of the road.
I'm not talking about high school.
Yeah.
I'm not going there. Okay, so let's finish off, Joe.
All right.
Let's get in here. So I'm gonna do a little thing called rapid questions.
Go ahead.
Okay. So what makes Joe happy?
Look, I'd love to say it's all about customer service, and that is a big thing. Yeah. But look, I've got a new wife named Stephanie who has just been the best thing for me to kind of slow me down in the right places, give me the support I need to go to work and work hard. But that's what makes Joe happy. Grandkids are a pretty close second.
Yeah, that's actually, now that you said that, I think I have somewhere in here, we'll put it up on the screen. Did I print that one off?
Well, I probably
don't have it here, but you know what? I'm going to put it on the screen. You were reading a story with...
That was when Elliot was first born. Elliot is now 7.
Oh, really?
Or 8.
Okay.
Right? And it's fun. That makes Bubba happy.
So let's flip this now.
Right.
What makes Joe mad? Now, when I talked to Mike Vecchio, he actually came out with a really cool one, and I thought it was. He said, "Shitty people."
Well,
and
that was
cool.
I was going to describe it about that too. Look, I live on a bit of a philosophy that yes is the answer. Yeah. Now, what's the question? And people have gotten used to me saying that, and the premier keeps pointing it out. Yeah. I dislike the other. Oh, we can't do that. We've never done it that way. We've always done this.
Trust me, I know that one.
Right.
Yeah.
I hate some of those things a lot, and the people that slow down progress kind of get in the way for no apparent reason at all, just to play devil's advocate.
That burns you, does it?
Yeah, it does.
That gets you going.
Yeah,
that gets the heart pumping.
I rub around that one pretty quick. Right?
Hey, trust me, and when you're dealing with military, Legion veterans, my gosh, how many times when I first started Catch the Ace.
Yes.
I actually fought them for
how many people told you we can't do that? It's too much work.
Tried it. We were going to do it. It doesn't work. And eventually, I just went and I got the license myself. what are they going to do? Fire me? I
Right,
said,
right,
I volunteer. Fire me.
Well, nobody else
I
is doing the
don't
work.
care.
You're the
No.
one doing the work.
And it's been a
Yeah.
pretty good success
Yeah.
ever since. So that's cool. So, okay,
All
so
right.
now we know what makes you mad.